Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. I'm a minute or so early, I think. Well, hopefully that's a good sign. It's better than last night and we were a little bit late. So we are now at part 2 of the 12 Days of Christmas, and we're going to continue what we were starting last night, that first set of flowers. Really pretty. I'm looking at the design in front of me now. I do think it's really pretty. Yeah, so it's going to be part 2. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, this is actually a recording from just a little bit earlier on, and I apologise for that, because I failed to get my technology to work, which you know, okay, that's the only first and last time I talk about technology, as it drives us all batty. So I do apologise for the YouTube viewers, but you are getting it as soon as this live finishes, so you're getting it just after 8 o'clock UK time. So I hope you're all well. I'm getting some lovely comments coming in, so let's have a look and see if I can see myself live, which is always a good thing. On mute, which is even better. I've actually popped my website on a pinned comment on the Facebook Live, and that's just so if you haven't downloaded the first 3 patterns, then you can go there and download those. But there's no hurry. We've got 12 days to complete this project, and it's going to be like, you know, the slow boat to China. That's the one. So we take our time. It's not about rushing. Normally I would try to do a demonstration in an hour. This isn't about that. You've got 12 hours really. So yeah, it's all about you know, doing it together actually. And on our Making It Special group, which is it's still a private group, and you can ask to join, it's no bother, we'll let you in. Then people have already started posting their pictures, which is fabulous. It's always lovely to see. And also, if you are a member, if you're one of my members for my sewing group, I don't mind if you post in there as well some of the pictures you've made, but don't forget to post in both groups so everybody can see, because obviously my members group is private, and you're not allowed to join unless you're a member. Right. Oh, Dawn says hello, Lizzy, and appliqueurs. Okay, Dawn, thank you. That's a good tongue twister. So hello to everybody. We've got lots of people watching, got lots of people commenting. Hello to Gemma, to Kath, to Judy, to Susan, Nicola, Jackie, Janet, Sue, Gillian, Kathy, Jane, Jill. Oh gosh, I'm going to skip some now. Hello to Dawn. Tricia, good evening, Tricia. So lovely to see you all. I'm glad you decided to pop back and have a second session. So we'll just do a quick reminder of what we did last night, just a couple of minutes. We don't want to waste too much time on that, because we have got part 1 that you can go back to and watch, but it's nice to have sometimes a quick reminder, because if you're catching this sort of, you know, in 3 or 4 months time, you'll think, oh, hold on a minute, what you talking about? Why have you done all this work before you've done, you know, you're doing this work? Well, I don't see where that fits in. So just a quick reminder, you know, so you know what stage we're at the start of every video, if that's okay with you. Yes, it is. Oh, good. Because that's what we'll do. Right, okay, so it's lovely to see your comments. Keep saying hello to everybody. Say hello to the person above you. Say hello to the person below you when they make a comment. Let's get some camaraderie. Good word. I'm not going to say it again. Let's get some friendship in the group. If you see anybody dodgy, then I can see our Jackie Thomas is around. I know Kath's around, and they will deal with dodgy people. Don't you worry, it's like getting the big guns out. So quick welcome to part 2 of the 12 Days of Christmas, and we're going to still be working on our fabulous sort of double flower design, and I'll go over again what that part looks like on the actual pattern itself. Now, all the pictures of what we're going to make is on this page. Just go to media or photos, or just scroll down the page and you'll find everything that you need. So you've got the yellow version, the blue version, just to give you some idea of what different colours would look like. I wasn't going to do every colour of the rainbow. I'll let you decide. I've chosen white for all of the backgrounds because it makes the flowers pop on a digital sort of page, if you like. If I started mixing the colours up in real life, it might look lovely, but on an actual download like this, it would look very confusing. So it's, for me, it's almost like black and white. That's what it is. So we've got the blue version and the yellow version as pictures, so you can see what it looks like. Now I've told you that it's, let me take you on the overhead, let's get you down there so you can see. I've said to you that it's finishing at 30 by 40, but actually we've got 2 borders to put on. This will be 1 inch, this will be 2 inches. So I'll give you that. When we get to that point of putting borders on, I will tell you what the measurements are. I don't necessarily want to jump ahead and give you everything all at once. It's too confusing, too confusing. So I tried to keep it as kind of, I'm going to say brief, basic. We're going to go as we go along, if that makes any sense. Oh, Diana says I'm here, couldn't get onto my knitting group. Oh dear. Well, listen, huge empathy for the people north of the border here in the UK, certainly north of in England and also into Scotland. Gosh, I think there's a severe weather warning, so just absolutely horrendous. I don't think there'll be any chance of anybody doing anything up north there in the next day or so. Dreadful, dreadful. Hello Abigail, and I have remembered 1804 from last night. Anyway, move on. Yeah, so this this is the blue design. There is a yellow version. It just gives you an idea, and I'm perfectly honest, in the Making It Special group, I've seen lots of colour variations, lots of different backgrounds, lots of different fabrics, and they all look spectacular. So don't think, oh my gosh, I have to follow this. Oh, you do not. This is really as simple as I can get it, so it looks clear to you. That's basically what I do. Now then, the section that we started to deal with last night is this section here. So this is our day, I don't know if you can read that, but it says 1 and 2. So this is our day 1 and 2. So this is what we're working on today, and we've got the flowers to do today. Yesterday we covered the leaves and the tracing and all that sort of thing. Okay, so we covered that really nicely. The second portion of that, and I've given you the measurements, this is 10 by 5, I beg your pardon, 10.5 by 10.5 inches, 10.5 by 10.5, and this one is 10.5 by 5.5. Okay, if you're looking on a bigger screen, I must admit I looked at this last night on my phone and it's not desperately clear. What I will do is take a photo of this. I'm not going to do any more graphics. I've got a lot of work graphic wise to do tomorrow for the 4th flower, but I'll take a picture of this in my rough sketch and you can see it in more detail. So this is day 1 and 2. This is day 3 and 4. 2 days because we've got more work to do, and we can think about different ways of actually stitching the flowers, which will be quite nice, and the stem and leaves as well. And I'm sorry, it's actually that section there, but this is like a blank section, if you like. There's nothing in it. You can put, to be honest, if you wanted to, you could take, I don't know, this flower here and put 3 flowers in there. You could take one of these perhaps, maybe that stalk, look, the stalk with the leaf and that little flower. Maybe you could have 2 or 3 or 4 going along there if you wanted to. Depends how well you get on with the applique and how confident you are and how much decoration you want. But to be perfectly honest, apart from this and this, every other box is full. Okay, so maybe it's quite nice to have these kind of breaks in the design. So this is day 1 and 2, this is 3 and 4, this is 5, this is 6 and 7, so that's that. Now by then I'll be saying to you, I want you to pre-trace your designs and cut them out. I certainly will for these two here, because that's quite a lot of work in 2 days. That flower design is going onto the website tomorrow. I had a bit of a technical glitch with that one. And then we go on to this section here, which is day 8 and 9. This is day 10, which is the tall flower again. By then we'll be sailing along. We might not even be here for an hour. Well, we probably will, the way I talk. And then day 11 we'll be doing the borders, and day 12 we'll be doing the quilting and the putting together. Okay, so I kind of covered all bases for you, and I hope that's acceptable. You may decide you want to enlarge this and make it bigger in some way. Of course you can. Maybe, look, that section there is a natural section maybe to duplicate. I don't know, I'll leave that for you to decide. Even that is perhaps something you could repeat over here and make that the centre section. Maybe flip it. Maybe, you know, we've done a lot of flipping over the last couple of days. So that's it really. Look at part 1 to give you a helping hand with the placement, etc., of the stalk and the stem and the leaves, etc. But you know, pretty much I think we've got it covered. So I'll take a picture of that and pop that on my page. It's a bit rough and ready. You can see my sort of drawings, you know, day 11, day 12, you can see all of that, but I'm okay with that because, you know, I'm doing this along with you. So that's that. So what we were going to carry on with tonight is this. I'll take my ironing mat away. Just put it over there. Last night we did the flowers. Sorry, the leaves and the stem, and we just used an ordinary foot on the machine. Now I appreciate you can't see this very well. And let me just put it on the side camera and see if I can show it to you any easier on the side camera. And if I bring it right in, I'm going to show it to you as best I can. Try and hit the light, and then maybe you can see the stitching. So for demonstration purposes, it might have been better if I'd used a darker thread. Anyway, moving on. This is going to be my blank boxes. We talked about that last night, and I've ironed down the flowers. Now then, what you could do is iron just the outside scallop flower down and stitch, and then iron on your circle and stitch, and then iron on your circle, your centre circle, and then stitch. But to be honest, nothing is crossing over. So if you do stack them up like this, you've got a lovely clean edge to stitch. So I would say just put them all down and iron them down flat. Tonight I'm going to set my machine up. I've got my UX8 here, my nice machine with decorative stitches, and I'm going to do a buttonhole stitch around all of these, all 6 if you like, all 6 pieces. So I'll try and break it up with a couple of jokes. Perhaps not. Oh, Anne says, evening, I'm waiting for my heat and bond to arrive before I can get started. I have some light stabiliser, but decided to go for heat and bond. Well, you want heat and bond to glue this anyway. Your stabiliser goes on the back because, as a reminder, you can see I've got my tearaway. Now, the other thing I was going to say to you about tearaway is that where we didn't backstitch, rough bit of cutting with my machine there, but anyway, where we didn't backstitch, try and be careful when you tear this got me at it now, and when you tear this stabiliser away, because you don't want to lift these stitches up. So I would just go with caution. It's not that necessary to go in here and take all that out, but you can do if you want. Okay, but mine has already got the stabiliser on the back, and this is the tearaway, and it's super. Keep to a lightweight, because you don't want if it's going to be a quilt and not a wall hanging, you don't want it to be stiff and unyielding. So try to keep it as soft as you possibly can, because obviously it's all down to comfort when you've finished it, if it's going to be scrunched up on your sofa or the back of a chair. So yeah, so I've set up for a buttonhole stitch. Couple of things. Please replace your needle, please put a brand new needle in your machine. If you didn't do it yesterday on part 1, or part 1, then do it today on part 2. You'll need a nice sharp needle to go through all of these layers, and it will stitch beautifully with a new sharp needle, okay? I use a top stitch needle size 12, well 80/12, okay, that's what I use. The other thing is, and I haven't got on my Juki, I don't have this foot, but I do on my Bernina, which I didn't bring down, but I'm going to show you this anyway. When you're doing applique, if you've got a foot like this, which is an applique foot, or darning, what do they call it, satin stitch foot, then please use that. And I'll tell you the reason why. When you're tracking around your flowers, let me just get it so it's in the middle. When you're tracking around your flowers, you can see exactly where your needle is going to fall. Okay, so your needle will want to perhaps, especially with a buttonhole stitch, to follow the line of your fabric. Okay. If you're using a foot, which I'm going to have to use on my Juki because I don't have one of these, it's difficult to see through it unless it's plastic. And this open toe foot, which, as I say, sometimes they call it satin stitch, open toe, maybe darning, I can't think of any other name that would be called. It's there purposefully so you can see exactly where your needle falls, and you can track your fabric around your design very, very easily. Doing a good demonstration of almost like a train going around the track. And even when you get to the point where you need to pivot, look how well you can see that, and you can move it beautifully because you've got a full clear view. And that foot will grab your feed dogs. It's been designed as, well, I'm assuming it's the same make as your machine. Please don't get generic. And you can see it's got a kind of a dip to it. Can you see the dip in there, like a little sort of well? That's so it doesn't, if you're doing satin stitch, that's so it doesn't squash the satin stitch, okay? And we'll do that on one of the flowers so you can see how that works. I'll have to get my Bernina down for that. But it does help. If you haven't got one, don't worry, because I'm not using one, but I thought it was really important that I should talk to you about that. And if you've got that foot with your machine, please use it. It's an absolute godsend, it really is. So there we are. So let's start stitching, and we'll bring the machine in. I'm going to move my background fabric away, and I'm going to bring the machine in. Let me just move you out of the way. I'll move my phone. Hopefully I can still see comments. Hopefully you're all okay. Give me a shout if you need me to talk to you about anything, point anything out, or whatever, anything you like. We'll try and answer it as we're live. Now, okay, so I've got my machine set up for buttonhole stitch. Now there is a little point, let me get rid of some of this junk. There's a little point me showing you how my machine is set up, because your machine, it'll be totally different to mine. Well, maybe so, maybe not. But what I'm trying to say is you need to set your machine up to whatever stitch you like. If I'm going to use buttonhole stitch, you use a stitch. And in fact, I saw somebody use a stitch earlier on one of the pre-made, one of the flowers. She'd already jumped ahead, and she'd gone all around the flowers here, and she'd done a beautiful decorative stitch. So be brave, be brave. My top tip, let me just get my mouse out of the way. My top tip will be to test it out on fabric before you even touch your applique. Can you imagine starting to stitch that and it all goes horribly wrong? Oh, Don, Daryl, good evening everyone. Just had a bit of a late, just a bit late, just had my tea. How nice. What did you have? I had cheese and biscuits. No, actually that's a lie. I had chicken and biscuits. Should have been cheese. I forgot the cheese. How is that possible? Yes. So test your fabric out. And if you want to, use one of these shapes. So cut another piece out, applique it onto your scrap fabric and just test it out. Now, if I go in and out of focus, I am really sorry, but this side camera is a little bit touchy with being in focus. I can't do anything about that unless I speak to John, and he might be able to change it. So yeah, so test your stitch out. So let's have a look, see what's happening. Oh, it's not working. Okay, that's fine. We can deal with that. We can turn it off and turn it back on again. I love it when a plan comes together. That's a bit weird, isn't it? So let's just, I'll just set this up again. Let me just switch you back to the front. I can't even tell you how rubbish stuff is at the minute. Mind you, it doesn't matter, does it? We're all here together. So I'm just setting the machine up. It's on buttonhole stitch. I can put my foot down. Yay! Let's just, my zigzag width. Now then, this is what I'm going to talk to you about. Let me put you on the side camera again. If you need a different angle, will you please tell me? Because I can change things anytime you like. Anytime you like, okay? Now I know you won't be able to see what I'm stitching, but I'm going to show you as I do it. So mine is set up for buttonhole, well, yeah, buttonhole stitch, blanket stitch, same thing sort of really. And I've got a zigzag width of 1.8 and I've got a stitch length of 2.2. So let's just see how it performs. So try a little test. So we'll do a little bit of stitching. Maybe it's better if you see it as it comes out. Oh, no, it's okay. Let's just turn it that way a bit. There we go. Okay, so let's cut the threads and have a look at it. I've got a slight variegated thread here, so you'll see that. Now then, that's okay, but you know what? You've got to be really super clever and careful to get those the width, if you like, the zigzag part, to be wide enough to grab your fabric and the edge of the fabric and look gorgeous. So to go into your design and really look neat. That's quite small, okay? So test it out if you think maybe that's a bit small. So I'm going to put my zigzag width up to well, let's try 2, and then we'll do a comparison. See what that looks like. To be honest, it's such a small amount, but you'll get to the point where you think, actually, that's just about right. So let's cut that off. Okay, so you'll hardly notice the difference. I like the variegated thread. I don't know, I hope you can pick it up. So even going 0.2, it's hardly any difference, and I still feel that I'd have to be super neat and super careful to go around the edge of a flower with that. So I'm going to whack it up now to 2.2, and that will probably be enough. We'll see. We'll do a little bit more stitching as a test. There we go. But it's a good idea to test your stitches out. So now, now you see that's a lot better. It's not a huge difference, but it's better than that one, isn't it? Okay, so just keep testing it. The actual stitch length is 2.2, and I think that's probably about right, because we've got to go around a scallop flower, so we don't want it too big. The circles you could probably make a bit bigger maybe, but we'll keep it at 2.2. So my stitch length is 2.2, my stitch width is actually 2.2. Super neat. So yeah, so get yourself a piece of fabric and do test out your stitches, whatever your stitch is, and we will use a different stitch another day. So it's just a case of going for it. So we could start with the scallop flower first, and again that foot would be really useful for you now. So shall I try and move that camera? So you'll have to forgive me if I wriggle you a bit. So I'm going to just try to bring it round a bit. Let's see. I don't know if that's any better or worse really, but it's difficult. I can't have one over my shoulder, which would be ideal, but let's get rid of all this gubbins because it will end up on the floor. Right, okay. I think that's about as best as I'm going to get it for you. So I think that'll do. So we'll go around the flower and see how we go. Now, if you've got a situation where you can leave your needle in, do that, because then it assists you with pivoting and also keeps you absolutely it keeps you aligned, whereas if you take the needle out it could shift your fabric a little bit. So let's have a go. Let's see how we get on. So take your time. If you feel, see, I'm going really slowly now. You could take your, you know, your stop-start button. I'm not sure if I've got one on here. Oh yes, a rabbit in a hare. It's up here if you can see my finger. I could take this right down to medium perhaps, and that'll stop me going super fast. So let's try that. So that slows me right down. But you might want to pivot, even if you don't have that facility. You know, it's easy enough for you to do. So just keep going around. Try and keep it fairly neat. Take your time. There is no rush. And to be honest, this is something I thoroughly enjoy. Now, if you've got an open foot, then that where I was pivoting on that, so it would be like here, is fantastic, because I could have seen right into the sort of point, if you like, the inner point, and that would have been absolutely fantastic. So I'm relying on what I can see, and obviously I'm a little bit of an angle, but I've got a plastic foot, and it does allow me to see enough. Perhaps that's why the machine wasn't provided with one. It could be that it was provided with one and I've lost it. I need to get another one though, because it is useful. Now you could, by going round the other way, put the eyelashes, if you like, of the design going outwards. So I'll do this flower and then I'll show you what I mean by that. But it's just a case of taking your time. Use that pivot function. It's lovely if your machine lifts the foot up and leaves the needle in. But you can do it by hand. Of course you can. You can go slow, you can go fast. It's all about your confidence. I remember watching somebody doing free motion once, and it was done one stitch at a time. One stitch at a time, honestly. It was amazing to watch. Absolutely fascinating, because I've never seen anything like that before. You kind of just sort of go for it. And we will do free motion, so you're not to worry about that. I'll cover that in a brief way, because I'm doing a course on the 14th of January, a 2-hour course. Right, let me just have a quick look at my comments, guys. I'm just here. Oh, sorry, don't you see my phone? Right, Jeanette says, when I found the size and type of stitch, I took a photo of the settings so I remember for the next time. Yeah, I mean, that's such good common sense there, Jeanette. Well done. Sue says, great idea as well. So, yeah. Oh, I've gone back to, gosh, these phones. Honestly, I've now gone back to my previous live of yesterday. So... honestly, you can't make it out. Right, so oh dear, I've got the jinx today. Yeah, so yeah, taking a photo when you realise that's the stitch, that's absolutely perfect. There's nothing worse than finding that stitch, getting your settings sorted out, and then going back to it a couple of days later. So, I mean, some machines will actually stay on that setting, others obviously default back to straight stitch, and you lose it and you think, oh, where on earth was it? And just to save you a little bit of angst, to write it down, or as Jeanette's done, taken a photo. What a brilliant idea. Anything to save our poor little brain cells. So even though I'm doing blanket stitch, or buttonhole stitch I tend to call it, on with the tearaway, the tearaway still works the same. Now because we have bonder webbed, heat and bond in my case, the pieces of applique, in some instances that is strong enough not to pucker your fabric. And I think that's something that you could experiment with, okay? Because sometimes it's down to machines and needles. If you've got a blunt needle, you will get puckering perhaps, and you probably won't, you might get missed stitches. So it's always worth, so there we are. So I've gone all the way around. So even though I was chatting and what have you, so let's try and get it so the light's on it. My lights are hopeless in this room, but I'm rather hoping you can see that. It looks quite neat, doesn't it? So when I talk to you about the eyelashes, so what I mean is the stitch that goes obviously inside the flower. If we go the other way around, the actual design will make eyelashes. So we can do that. Excuse me, I just have a little drink of my orange. I had a piece of chocolate with nuts in before. Lovely. Okay, so again, put the foot down. And you want to be thinking, obviously, of trying to catch the fabric. So this time I'm going the other way around. It's a little bit more tricky. And ideally, and maybe this is where you could actually increase the width. So you've got one of the straight stitch is on the circle piece of fabric, and the horizontal stitch, if you like, is going on the outside. So maybe you'd get something like a sun effect. It's certainly not going to clamp your fabric down or secure your fabric down as well as the other way of doing this, but it's fun. And if you're not going to wash this too often, then it should be fine. Maybe you could do a second row of stitching just to secure it, because the heat and bond is good, but ideally you're going to stitch all of your applique pieces. But I want you to see the difference when you go anti-clockwise. It's quite fun. And of course my lovely little quilt here is going to end up as a sampler quilt. Right, so let's have a look at that. I could do with neatening those stitches off there. So have a look. So now that stitch is going out rather than in. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know if you can't, and I'll do a zoomy inny so you can see it. Okay. So then it's just a case of going round the circle here. Now I think what I'll do is I'll do this flower over here with the buttonhole stitch on the outside, on the scalloped edge and the circle, and then let's think of something different to do in the centre. Are we all right for time? Oh, we've got plenty of time. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay. Is everybody all right? Is there any questions or concerns or anything like that? The other thing is, oh, Sue says, hi Lizzie, sorry I'm late, but with the grandchildren. How lovely. Jean says she's got her notebook handy. Excellent, Jean. And Daryl says, looking forward to using lots of new stitches to do this. Oh yes, do. Yeah, I mean, your machines are fabulous for lots of different stitches. Try them all out. We very rarely use our decorative stitches. Tell me what was the last project that you did where you used the decorative stitches. What was it? What stitch did you use? And I don't think there would be many that would say they actually used it. Has anybody got that foot that I showed you? Has anybody got one of those? And are you using it? Yeah? Has anybody got one of those? Nicola says she's just chilling doing her blanket stitching. Watching and listening along. Lovely. Karen says, good evening, Lizzie. Hope you're all okay and you've had a good Christmas. Love from Karen. Yes, Karen, I had a lovely Christmas. Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to the next one now. Well, now we're getting the longer days. Oh my goodness, thank goodness for that. Even though it's only about a minute a day, it's like, yes. Oh dear. So I'm concentrating on keeping the straight part of the stitch on the edge of the fabric, and it's not, you know, you got to concentrate. It's no good having the grandchildren or the dog with you, or even the hubby. Lock your door. Have 5 minutes to yourself. Just enjoy. There we go. Finishing off this flower. Let's have a look. Kathy said, just use my alphabet to label my grandson's quilt. Oh, how lovely. Susan says, never seen that foot before. I'll search the pack that came with my machine. And Yvonne says, I use mine all the time. Marion says, I've been using the decorative stitches on the butterfly. Oh, well, of course, yes. In our group, the Platinum group, we're making butterfly boxes. And one of the things that we're doing is masses of free motion, decorative stitches, things like that, just to well, decorate the box really, and actually making it really sturdy. Because if you think about it, layering up, whether it's foam or wadding, if you stitch over it, it makes it a lot stronger and a lot more sturdy. So although it's nice, it's a lovely thing to do, there's another reason why we should stitch these sort of things, especially when it's going to be a 3D object. Yeah. So, making our way around. It's looking absolutely gorgeous, and the variegated thread is very subtle, so it's quite nice. So we'll think about what we're going to do in the centre. I've had an idea, guys, while I've sat here stitching away. There we go. Did anybody see, and obviously this is difficult if you're watching not on the 27th of December 2023, did anybody see the tribute to Ronnie Corbett last night? You know, that with the two Ronnies. Oh my gosh, that was just absolutely wonderful. So wonderful. You forget, don't you, that our Christmases and special times in the year were always celebrated with people like the two Ronnies and Morecambe and Wise, and it was an absolutely fantastic tribute. There we go. Jan says, hi Lizzie, I've not been long in from work. My machine doesn't cut threads. What is the best way to secure the threads on decorative stitches without doing any back stitches? Well, you've got a back button, so you could use your back button, but you'll never see me do a back stitch on decorative stitches because you've got enough going on without having the mess of back stitches. I mean, that you can see there, that needs to be tidied up a little bit. When it came to starting and stopping here, I didn't do a back stitch, but you could do one, maybe two at a pinch, and then you were just going to cut your threads. Basically, you're going to get your scissors and chop them. Don't worry about, this is not quilting, okay? This is not quilting. We don't have to take the threads to the back and do weird and wonderful things with them. All we need to do is secure them as best we can. What you got to remember is that whatever you've stitched is stuck with bonder web, heat and bond, steamer seam, whatever. So it's stuck pretty well, pretty well. Your stitch is there purely as decoration and a little bit of security as well. So I really wouldn't worry about masses of back stitching, 1 or 2 max back stitches, and then if you pull it out from your machine and you've got threads, then you're just going to snip them away as normal. So don't worry about that. It's a good question though, Jan, good question. It says without doing any back stitches. Well, even with decorative stitches you can do back stitches, and you only want to do 1, 2, and I'll do it on this flower so you can see. Okay, so with this the largest flower on the smallest, the largest circle on the smallest flower, we're going to do this again where we're going the straight stitches on the fabric and the actual what I call eyelashes are going out. It just looks different, and it's the same stitch, and yet we've created 2 different looks. So this time we go anti-clockwise. Okay, now some machines do have something where you can flip the stitch, and possibly this machine does it, but I have not had the time to figure it out or worry about it. If you've used fabric that's very similar, you'll find it may be a little tricky to see the edge clearly in some places, and again that's where that foot comes in handy, because you would definitely see the edge, you know, even if it's a similar colourway, you would see the edge. Okay, so it's got its uses. So Jan, all I would do, 1 stitch, and then I'd use my back button. Well, that's an okay, I've got it set up to knot and cut. But you would use your back button to do 1 stitch back. Okay, 1 stitch back. Okay, that's my fault because I've got it set up to do a knot. On a regular machine, you would just do oh dear, couldn't make it up really. You would just do a back stitch. Okay, so let's do that again. But you would need to secure it in some way if that's something that's really important to you, and I think that's the only thing that I can think of that would work. So again, so we're going anti-clockwise, and as I say, if you've got a machine that can lift up, brilliant. If not, you've got a wheel at the side, you've got a hand that you can lift your presser foot up and down, so that's what you do. But I wouldn't worry about threads. As I say, this is not quilting. If it was quilting, I'd be telling you something different. Actually, applique is really very forgiving. The only thing that I would say to you, if you're, I won't stop stitching because otherwise, if you're using thread that's very similar in colour to your fabrics, then you can get away with glue murder, right? Well, not murder particularly, but you know, you can get away with a lot. Let me just check where I'm going. So I think I've come off my fabric there. You can get away with a lot, okay? If you are using, some people use a lot of black, which I really don't like very much. You will see every single mistake, every wriggle, every stutter, every bit, you know, where here I've gone over the first couple of stitches of my buttonhole stitch there, it will show because it's dark and black. If you use a thread that's forgiving, that matches your fabric, even though this is variegated very subtly, your stitches tend to disappear a bit, okay? And you can get away with all sorts of, I'm not going to say errors, but things that have gone a little bit wrong for you. So I would keep to thread that is very similar to your fabric if you want to not be too, what's the word, too critical of yourself. Okay, so the middle of the centres here, these little circles here, I'm thinking, what can I do? Well, you know what? I think I'm just going to do like a crosshatch, you know? So I'm going to set my machine back to normal stitching, which hopefully I can do fairly easily. Yep, that looks like it is. My stitch length is 2.4, so I'm going to just take that down to 2.2. And I'm just literally going to do a crosshatch. Now, I haven't got, oh hold on, I might put my head in front of the camera, so do apologise. What you could do, sorry it's gone out of focus, I'll just wait for it to clear, that's it. What you could do, if you're not sure, is, let me just try not to move too quick because it will go out of focus, is that you could draw yourself some lines. Check your fabric before you do this and make sure that the lines don't leave a white mark. So obviously this is doing it in mid-air, so it's not always easy for me, but you can see I've done a crosshatch. And on this one as well, just so you've got a guide of where you're stitching. So you're pleased with what you've done rather than think, oh, that's just awful, something like that. So use your heat erasable pen or your chalk pen, anything like. So we'll use those lines. Again, that foot will be really handy for this. Now, one stitch and then one stitch back. So for decorative stitches, I've obviously got it set up to do a knot, which is perfect if you've got that facility. So all I'm going to do is follow my circle around until I come to the next vertical line. And again, I'm just going to follow that around. And again. Follow it round. And you'll hear, I don't know if you can hear with my machine, it's clunking a little bit, which means I need a new needle. So it'll get a new needle tomorrow. It'll have a little birthday. So I'm just checking if I've got any more lines. No. So what I'm going to do is I need to do the horizontals. So again, just go around my circle till I come to a horizontal line. Come to around the edge of my circle again. Horizontal line. So don't forget, we're going through 3 layers of fabric, 3 layers of glue with your heat and bond or whatever. And that's a lot. This is why you need a sharp needle. And then back to the beginning. And what you could do, and I'll just cut my threads, there's no need to do a back stitch. You can, of course you can. I just wanted to show you before how you can do a back stitch. So there we are, look, you can see there's the kind of cross hatch design. So let's do it on the other one. And just follow the circle round. And the idea is, if you've got a loose thread, like here, can you see? Get rid of it as soon as you can, because you don't want to be stitching that into your work. And like I say, applique is actually decorative more than anything. And now where am I going? I want to go vertical. So I'm just going to come around a bit. So sorry, I'm multitasking and I can't speak at the same time, it seems. yeah, it's purely functional, so you don't have to worry too much about the security of things. It's nice to do decorative stitches. It's nice to play with your machine, and in fact you'll kind of give you more confidence using your decorative stitches. But other than that, I wouldn't give it a second thought. So that could be better, but I'll show it to you anyway because I don't mind. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. Oh yes. There we go, back of the fabric. We can take that tearaway off now. Yeah. So let's move the machine. Let's move the machine. Let's get you on the overhead. I can see where it is. There we go. And I'm going to zoom you in a bit so you can see this a bit better. So apologies for tomorrow's washing. Ooh, bit near. These things I cannot control. So that's what it looks like on the back. Sue, thank you very much. And we can now get rid of some of this tearaway, but like I said before, be careful. This is where we started or stopped our stitching, and I didn't do a back stitch. It's not necessary, but we don't want to rip. We don't want to rip the stitches. So go canny, as they say, go canny. And this is just like a, what will you call it? Is it like a paper fibre? So it's very, very easy. Look, my seam ripper is going through that like hot, what is it? Butter through hot knife? No, hot knife. Yeah, hot knife through butter. So just track it round. If you're using a different sort of stabiliser, maybe you want to leave it in. But like I said last night, do check if you can see your stabiliser from the front, because you don't want to put your quilt together and you have this kind of white square or ghosting on the front of your quilt, okay? So you might want to consider. I mean, a lot of this you can just tear away. Now I have used 505 on my, and do be careful, put the bobble. The bobble is there for security, to stop you ripping your fabric. So I'll use it properly now. And I'm just literally tracking it round, and it's quicker than using a pair of scissors. But if you're unsure, for goodness sake, you don't want to be ripping your fabric, then use a little pair of scissors. Hopefully you can see. Hopefully I'm not putting a great big shadow on the fabric. But you can see that I don't want to do it all, because you can see generally what I'm doing. But I put 505 on my tearaway. Sorry, I'm just getting my point in there. And just to hold it in place. You don't have to though, you don't have to. So you can see what I'm doing, you can see how easy it is, but just take your time. You don't want to rip this after all that lovely work that you've done. And just go as close or what have you. So, and then you can go in there if you want to. Do you know what? I wouldn't bother. Don't waste your time. But all of this here and here can come away quite easily. And you can tear it, but I just want you to be very careful about your stitches. And I don't want you to rip your stitches. So I'd rather you use scissors or like a quick unpick. Okay, anyway, I'll do that afterwards. Oh, Nicola says she's just pausing for a chocolate break. Well done, Nick. Sweetie, you can't send some down the Ethernet to me. Is that right, Ethernet? I don't think it is now, is it? Anyway, right, let's just get rid of that. Okay, so that's what the back looks like, perfectly acceptable. If somebody wants to open up your quilt and have a look at your stitching, please defriend them. So again, all we need to do now is give that a little iron, because although we keep ironing this, keep at it, because every time you stitch, you're putting in texture, and you're putting in your fabric could get a little bit ruffled. It shouldn't if you've used stabiliser, but I'll put it there so we can see it a little bit better. But just you want to set those stitches in so they're looking lovely and neat. Also, if you used your heat erasable in the centre here, you might find that that heat erasable pen, it does need to be removed. So let's do that. and it will lift it completely. There we go. So we've got 5 minutes left, and we're now going to add, I'll turn my iron off, and now we're going to add the bottom panel. So I'm just going to whiz out, excuse me, while I do that. Okay. I don't have any trendy stuff to zoom me out. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to attach those two pieces together, and then we're going to talk about that seam like you do. So I just put you on the side camera again, bring my machine in. Now of course I've got yellow thread on here, and obviously this is something perhaps you want to change. Okay, you might want to go back to your cream or grey neutral thread, but we'll keep it on the yellow. I'll see what it looks like. If it does show too much, I will restitch this. And I've got on this machine I've got a 1/4 inch, so let's move that. And so it's 1/4 inch seam allowance. No need to back stitch, because all of the seams are going into other seams. So as long as you don't tug at it, it'll be fine. So 2.4 stitch length, just your regular stitch length. I've got it on slow, haven't I? I've just realised. Okay, we cut those threads. Okay, let's just push that away. Right, so let's get you on the overhead again. Bring the iron in again, and please, 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 please iron your pieces. Iron your pieces at every single stage. It makes a huge difference to how your project looks. Right, so do we open the seam or not? Now then, whatever we do with this design, at some point you will see the seam on the white fabric. Okay, so if I turn that, you know, they talk about turning to the dark side, turning to the light side, turning, no, it's to the dark side. You will see it. So if I do that and finger press it, can you see the shadow along there? That white is showing through. Well, because of the nature of the design, let me bring it in, you will see that here, 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 there, there, there. So, okay. So what can you do about it? Right. So if you decided that you're going to press the seam on this particular panel to the dark side, lovely. Okay, you can't see any shadow. Now if you use a white wadding, you probably won't see a shadow anyway, but I'm just putting it out there that you might. Okay, so if you push that to the dark side, you can't see any shadow along your white piece of the seam, but you will see it on other pieces. So what do? Do you balance it up? Now I'm into balancing it up myself. So I'm actually going to open my seam. Now this is very controversial, it seems. Very controversial, opening a seam. This doesn't look like 1/4 inch at all, but never mind. But what it means is that every one of your pieces, in the white particularly, will look the same if you see it when you put your wadding on. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. Now you can see it, you can just see it along there, but once we put wadding behind it, and I don't have any wadding handy, well I do, but I'm not going to get up and get it, you'll probably not see it. Okay, you'll probably not see it. And if you do lots of quilting, again, you probably won't see it. But of course, you might decide for yourselves that an open seam is not for you. Look, you decide. I just like to give you a little bit of a conversation about it, and it makes you think what you would like to do, which is the most important thing, not what I want you to do or what I think. Okay. But I have to say, I think that looks really lovely. Obviously it looks better in real life, and what I'll do is I'll take a picture outside tomorrow, as long as it's not raining, so we get a better sort of appreciation, I suppose, if you like, of the colours going quite well together, because this orangey colour here really sets off this orangey colour there. It's orangey yellow. So there we are. So that is our first bit done, and I know it's only day 2. We've got 10 more days to go, and by then you'll all be pros. You'll be all telling me how you've done it, and how much, you know, different you've done it, and your fabrics are different. That is what it's all about. So there we are. So that is our first section done. Looks really cute. Very easy. You can see how easy it is now. You can think about all the different things I did here. We did the buttonhole going in, the buttonhole going out, and then the crosshatch. It reminds me of something. Is it like a sunflower or something like that? Just something different. Just something different. I'm happy with it. Good. Okay. So part 3 is tomorrow. And part 3, let's just give you a reminder, part 3, days 3 and 4, will be this design here, okay? Now I will do a little bit of cutting, because if I remember right, there's 15 petals, 3 circles obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves and 3 stems. So I do want to get some of that cutting done, but I'll quickly go over, maybe what I'll do is that stem there, for instance, we'll do that as tracing, just so you're reminded of tracing. I don't think you need to be, but we better cover it anyway. So days 3 and 4, so that's tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, will be this section here, okay? Good. Well, I think that's absolutely lovely, and it's gone really well. Thank you ever so much for joining me again. It's been an absolute treat. I really look forward to it every day, of being with you for an hour. If I've missed any comments about stuff, I will get back to you. I'll look at if there's any questions at all. I'm very happy to answer any questions. I'm looking here. It doesn't look like there's any questions. And I know Kath was watching, and Jackie was watching as well. Hopefully Sue she said is it frozen? Hopefully it hasn't frozen. We're still live okay. Sometimes it's a job to know whether it's me or you, to be perfectly honest. But as I say, if you're kind of north of in the country, it's very windy here, really windy, and we're in Suffolk, which, as you know, is sunny Suffolk. Up north, a bit tricky. So if you're sort of that way, it could be your connection. I don't know. Anyway, this is going to go now on YouTube. So thank you very much for my YouTube followers, and I'm sure they're going to appreciate it, albeit an hour late. Right, I'll see you tomorrow at 7. I'm not doing the members live tomorrow, just to give Kath and I a little bit of a break. I know I'm here, but that's slightly different to Kath and I doing our thing together in the members group, because we normally do our 3 ingredients on the last day of the month. Now, of course, it means in the members group, I might not see you before the new year, but I think that would be a harsh thing to do. So I will go live in the members group over the next couple of days, just to wish you a happy new year. That would be unforgivable of me if I didn't do that, so I shall do that. But in the meantime, I will see you tomorrow here on my page at 7 o'clock. I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. Stay safe, keep warm, wrap up, eat your chocolate. Bye everybody.